The consumer price index, which measures inflation, rose to 16.82% in April from 15.92% in March. The latest figures from the National Bureau of Statistics on Monday exceeded IMF's 2022 projection of 16.1%. The International Monetary Fund had recently projected that Nigeria's consumer price index will hit 16.8% in 2022 in its regional economic outlook for sub-Saharan Africa. The latest inflation rate in April is the highest in the country since August 2021, when it was 17.01%. Well, in the meantime, food inflation rose to 18.37% in April from 17.2% in the month of March. So let's take a closer look at factors responsible for these jumps. So let's get talking now. Mr. Mukhtar Mohammed is CEO of Finance with Mukhtar. He joins us on Zoom call now. Thank you for your time. We appreciate you.
Always a pleasure to be on you.
Okay. Well, the consumer price... Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, good to see you again. Well, the consumer price index, which measures inflation rate, it rose from 15.92% to 16.82% in the month of March. This is already higher than IMF's projections for the year. How concerned are you?
Very concerned, but you know, it's a global issue in terms of inflation figure. For the first time, in the US over 40 years are having double-digit inflation. So it's a global issue, but we have our own structural problem, which has to do also with our exchange rate volatility. Just this morning, we learned that the exchange rate have crossed 600 in the parallel market. And when you look at that with the challenge we have with the Russia and Ukraine crisis, also when you look at the challenge we have also in attracting foreign direct investment or portfolio investors. So all these are major challenges to our economic growth. And also these have added to the inflation's numbers we are seeing at the moment, especially household item. If you look at that figure, you realize that the cost of
Hello, Mr. Mukhtar. Well, I guess we're having a connection issue with Mr. Mukhtar there, trying to give us his own side of analysis to the figures we're seeing. But let's quickly look at that figure. Okay, I'm aware you're there. Mr. Mukhtar, can you hear me? But let's quickly look at...
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, okay.
I'm hearing you.
Yes, I needed to continue on that thought. Go ahead, please.
So I said that when you look at those numbers, you realize that the challenge we have, especially for household item, like one of the balanced diet that every Nigerian desires, bread, and bread is beginning to go out of view of the common man because of the cost of wheat. And you know, Ukraine happened to be the world largest producer of wheat. So we're going to see those challenges there. We also see the cost of gas going up, and which is a global issue already. And also you also see that the cost of basic necessity, even including rent, is going up. So it's definitely what affects Nigerians that are going up, and this has added to the inflation to make it a little bit bad again. Is we are in the rainy season, so we are not having the planting season yet. So cost of basic items, also like other basic items for like vegetables and others also are going high. So it's not a good time.
If you look at the reason why the inflation figure, April inflation figure was given is the cost of energy and food. When you compare that to the figures in March, I mean, the NBS attributed March figures to the cost of diesel, that is the PMS, and of course the Forex. But that didn't happen this time around. How do you think the government is responding to it, looking at the monetary, from the monetary policy side, side of the issue?
Well, if you look at the monetary policy side, we are expecting the MPC meetings coming up this month. We expect them to respond positively, maybe in the area of the exchange rate volatility that we've seen. I think that's the only response they can give to us. But actually now, what have they responded? They've done some direct investment and direct intervention, and we don't expect to see those results begin to come up now. It will take time for those results to begin to come out. So they've done some direct investment and intervention. So monetary policy will always do what they ought to do. But the main challenge is that the monetary policy seems to be doing all while the fiscal side seems to have no clue on what is happening, especially we enter the election year where that's a big also not matters.
Permit me to come in. I asked that question because the last MPC meeting, I mean, the CBN, I mean, it seems to have left out the issue of a forest crisis. They didn't really touch on that. So what they discussed was basically on the cause on how to address the cause or the hike in aviation fuel, of course, which has persisted up to now. But now inflation is, beg your pardon, and the next MPC meeting is just around the corner, just a week from now. I need you to give me your take or your expectation. So what you think is likely to dominate conversation or the deliberation in the next MPC meeting, given the background of the current inflation figure?
Frank, unfortunately, this is not the first time that the MPC have refused to do anything when it comes to FX, even for the past 8 months. Especially since they relieved the Bureau de change of giving them FX. They've not really come up with one categorical statement. It's either they come up with one blueprint or the other, and as it stands now, those blueprints don't seem to be working. What do I expect the MPC to do next? I expect that rate will still remain the same. They will not have, if they are, because of the kind of fragile economy we operate. Ordinarily, when you have inflation high like this, you have to increase interest rate. But we will run a very fragile economy, a monotonous economy that depends on only one source of revenue. And if the people are already suffering. So if you hike the rate, cost of funding will go high. So they'll definitely leave rate like that. Will they be able to address the FX issue? I don't think they've given it any serious consideration. I expect them to do that because it's one thing. It's for me, it's not rocket science. What we have in the FX situation is that we need to look at what other countries are doing. How do they manage FX situation? Do we start the CBN? You are coming up. You say by December, you make sure that banks begin to provide for their customers to that intervention. Yet you are the largest receiver of our FX customer. How do you develop a policy come up clear so that I can go into my own bank and decide to get FX at another rate? You can go into your own bank depending on how much the bank is able to attract FX into its own bank. And if we do that, I'm telling you, we don't need the noise that the Bureau de change are saying that they want to come back to business. We need to give them a window. We may not need that if you are transparent and we allow banks, because we know that some of these Nigerian banks have been able to attract a euro bond in terms of euro and dollar. So that means that they could also use that as a yardstick to attract FX into their own banking space at a rate that will not be as high as what we are experiencing in the parallel market.
Now, food inflation rose to 18.37% in the review month, an increase compared to the 17.2% recorded in the preceding month. This rise in the food index was caused by increases in the prices of bread, cereals, food products, potatoes, and they also mentioned some tuber, such as yam, you have plantain, tomatoes, meat, and oil as well. Is this in any way connected to the impact of the Russia-Ukraine war? Because we've seen that even in recent time where the government came out to, attribute some economic realities that we're having, attributing it to the Russia-Ukraine war, especially with scarcity in the wheat sector.
Yes, but the wheat sector, I think I agree with that totally. Like I said, Ukraine is the largest exporters of wheat. So that is already affecting the global market. It's not just Nigeria. It's a global market. The rural supply in terms of wheat has really dwindled down. So I'm not surprised about that. Also, in terms of gas, you need to look at the cost of gas. It's not that there's no gas, but the cost of gas. You know that Russian market also provide up to like 5% of the total gas in the whole world, and especially in Europe. And so we are seeing that challenge playing out. But again, like I said, we have our own particular issues. When you talk about tubers of yam, we don't import that. When you talk about potatoes, we don't import that. When you talk about vegetable, we don't import that. But then let's look at it the other way around. We may not have imported, but we don't even have the machinery today. So we have to import the machineries to be able to bring value to all this product. And if we have to import the machinery, that means we need to look for FX. If we need to look for FX, then we need to get it at a higher rate because we cannot get everything from government. So it's a snowball effect. What you think, and then remember that what we're supposed to be earning as revenue, once we get it as revenue, we lose it in the area of refined petroleum product that we have to import in, and we are selling those products at a very discounted rate. So it's a big challenge, and it will take a government that have the political will to do the right thing. Then they'll be able to do that. As it stands now, I thought this government will have the political will to do it, but unfortunately, with the election around the corner, it seems to be leaving that to the next administration to take a decision on it.
Each time we have inflation figure jumped, it also affects the buying power of average Nigeria. I mean, I'm needed to speak to the issue of the buying power. The income has not increased. You still have the same wages being paid to Nigerians, and of course the buying power is also there. Household spending has also gone up as well. Speak to this in the interim. What do you think the government can do to address this? Is it a helpless situation that we found ourselves?
No, not at all, Frank. It's not a helpless situation because we see other parts of the world, the government came out with palliative. We can look at the United States. Because of the high cost of gas, the government came out and we stopped gas tax. So there's no more pay tax on the gases. That has also brought a push into the. Fortunately, we have a government in Nigeria that always think of revenue. Nobody's looking at growth. Nobody's looking at what the people, how much goes into the people pocket. All the thing is how much will come into our pocket. So that is a very, very big challenge. And we don't even have the structure to do what some of these nations do. So if you ask me based on that, I will say it will get more dicey for the ordinary Nigeria. But you never can tell the government will come up with indices, the government will come up with innovation that would help. But as it stands now, I don't see this government doing anything innovative to reduce the suffering of the average Nigerian.
Okay, I want us to really look at it now. Yes, we have, a lot of people have said we have a lot of advantage, arable lands, but perhaps we're not exploring enough as we should or to explore. I mean, where exactly do you think the country is missing out in all of these macroeconomic challenges that the country has found in itself?
I think we are missing out in the area of competitive advantage. We are not looking at our competitive advantage. We seem to be jack of all trade, master of none. We are not looking at what is that variable that you can associate with Nigeria. What is that in Nigeria has that the whole world craves for outside of oil, especially when you're talking about the non-oil sector. You talk about agriculture, we have it. So are we going to be doing all the agriculture? Are we going to do a specific agriculture? Do we still have the cocoa in the cocoa house in Ibadan and then concentrate on seeing how we can build cocoa? Do we still have the rice pyramid in, the granite pyramid in Kano? Or the rice pyramid that the government showed us somewhere in Abuja? Is that pyramid still there for us to see how we can exploit? So it's all about looking at our competitive advantage. If we want to be self-sufficient in rice production, like we claim we are we the largest rice producer in Africa? And so how can we use this as a scale? When you talk about Malaysia, you talk about palm oil. And unfortunately, Malaysia got the seed of their first palm oil here from Nigeria. Now we talk about them when you talk about palm oil. When you talk about cocoa, you talk about Côte d'Ivoire, you talk about Ghana. So so those are the things that Nigerians should be associated with. When they talk this, you say, oh, this is the best time, the best you can get is in Nigeria. That is what we call competitive advantage. Do we really have that? Yes, we do have it. Do we have the resources to develop that and be a big player in that sector? That, for me, is a big challenge.
And you talk about the fact that average livelihood or standard of living of Nigerian is depreciating. How worse do you think things can get in the coming days? Is a pre-election, of course, the government has a lot of activities up its sleeve.
Frank, if you are a politician or a member of a small politician cabal, I think this is the time you'll be smart, because of liquidity, trolling the political activists or politicians, and so they will have it. Average Nigeria in the back seat, and then in politics. So, what's season of the politicians, but the masses are the ones to suffer, because I don't see it getting any better. And unfortunately, most of the ministers in present cabinet are also interested in one position or the other. Even if some of them have withdrawn their bid, they will still have hands into politics here and there. So it's a very, very, very big thing. How worse can it go? I don't think it will go too worse. But at the point, there will be a stain in this issue, especially when we go after the primaries. I can assure you that the challenge that we are seeing, the volatility rate will come back, because no matter how much these politicians have saved this dollar in their house, they will have to bring it out for campaign reasons. We could see a downtrend in the exchange of the naira to the dollar. That is the only thing I can see as I sit here. But in terms of food production, cost of living going down, I don't see that coming anytime soon.
Can we jump on the advantage of the farming season and, of course, harvest at time to really address the issue of food prices, which is currently at over 18%?
We can. Unfortunately, we don't have the preservative store that we provide, where we have to put green and release it to the whole economy at a go, and everybody will have. I don't think we have that. So it still boils down to the structural issues that we have in terms of savings. Is not just in savings of your physical material like naira to the dollar or what. Savings also has to do with your ability to build savings in the time of plenty. And if you want to do that, you have those reserves, then we need to build storage. And how can we build these sellers? We need money. And so, is this money available? I don't think so.
Well, I mean, some may not agree with you that Nigeria is it's not broke, but I think it's a discussion for another day.
Frank, we are not broke.
Okay.
You can say it in simple terms that we are not broke when you hear things happening that.
Well, that's the position of many, of course. That's the position of some analysts out there.
Well, you look at it in that regard. Especially when you hear the Accountant General of the Federation have been arrested over an investment of 80 billion, and then you see a lot of issues that have to do with politicians throwing cash letters. And yes, but we are talking about real money that really will have to develop the economy. Okay. I don't think we have that money. We are not seeing those money in the economy. Rather, we are seeing it in space and in individuals' hands.
Well, I think we need to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time. Mokhtar Mohammed is CEO Finance Week Motaro. We appreciate your time on Business Breakfast.
Thank you very much, Frank.